This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
North Carolina is ranked 10th in the U.S. when it comes to hunger, and today's show focuses on an organization working to change that. It's the Interfaith Food Shuttle, and joining me now is Cindy Sink, Director of Community Impact at Advocacy with the Interfaith Food Shuttle. Cindy, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, before we talk about the work of the Interfaith Food Shuttle, let's talk about hunger in general. What exactly is hunger?
So the general measurement for hunger is uncertainty about where my next meal might be coming from. It's called food insecurity, and very low food insecurity is when people report actually skipping meals, like not having meals, because they don't have access to food or they don't have the income to purchase food. So it's generally that uncertainty, and then also actually missing meals because they can't afford to have food.
What does hunger look like here in North Carolina?
You know, it's that is the thing about hunger, is that it's mostly invisible because we're a state that has a lot of abundance, particularly in some of our like Wake County and Mecklenburg and, you know,
Like some of the larger
counties. Yeah, but there are pockets of hunger even in those wealthy counties, and then there is lots of hunger as you get out into the rural counties. So hunger can look like, it can be a child in your child's class who didn't come to school with breakfast that morning. Unfortunately, hunger is associated with obesity because families are eating food that is higher fat and higher, a lower nutritional value, but high calories.
Because it's inexpensive.
Because it's cheap. It's easy to buy it, and it's readily available. And so they're eating the wrong kinds of food, so there's a link between hunger and obesity. So, you know, a lot of times hunger is hidden away with our elderly because they're at home, and you don't see what they're eating or not eating at home. They're not getting out. They don't have transportation to get access to food. So hunger really, it comes in all shapes and sizes and all ages. And there are pockets of it even in our wealthy counties and cities.
And it's important for people to recognize that and to look for that and try to help.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that we're ranked number 10 in the country in hunger. We're ranked number 10 in senior hunger. 1 in 5 children in North Carolina may not know where their next meal is coming from.
That's alarming.
Yeah.
That statistic alone is alarming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, North Carolina is one of the highest producing agricultural states as well. And so there's a real disconnect when we know that there's enough food available in different parts of our state, but it's not getting to the people who need it. But hunger is a very complex issue, so it's just not a distribution issue. There are lots of factors that impact why a family may be experiencing hunger.
Right. So what are some of those factors that influence a family's situation?
So sometimes it is access. It's living in a low resource community that simply doesn't have access to a grocery store. Or it may be that we don't have transportation, so we can't get to a grocery store. Sometimes it's living in a rural area that is a long distance from grocery stores or any access to food. But the other big reason is income, that there's simply not enough money in the household to cover all of the household expenses. There are so many pressures on the household, whether it is low wages. We haven't had a change in our minimum wage in over a decade. The average family of 4 needs over $50,000 a year in order to meet their basic needs. Minimum wage doesn't even come close to that. So even though our unemployment rate has improved, it's still not up to pre-recession levels. So our population has grown, but our jobs have not matched that population growth, and we're not up to pre-recession levels. So the having jobs that pay a living wage, raising that minimum wage. Affordable housing is so scarce. Housing has skyrocketed. There are over 50% of residents in North Carolina are paying more than 30% of their income on their rent. And that's what has been identified as kind of the break point. You know, if you're spending more than 30% of your income on your rent alone, you're not going to have enough money to buy food, to pay for medical care. And speaking of medical care, affordable health care is another big pressure on families. Especially with elderly. Elderly are truly making a choice between taking their medicine or getting food. We see that all the time.
And those are very real, like you said, situations that we don't think about, and something that you don't see unless you're affected by it directly. So it's something that we need to consider, and that's where organizations like the Interfaith Food Shuttle come in to help families. Talk a little bit about the organization and your mission, and tell us what exactly you do.
So Interfaith Food Shuttle, we're a Feeding America food bank, which means that we're part of the network of food banks. But we also, our slogan is feed, teach, and grow. And the reason is that we know we need to feed people in the moment. There are people who are hungry right this minute, and we have to figure out how to get food to them. But we could be feeding people forever, and we won't end hunger. We've got to look at what are the larger issues at play. So some of those things that I mentioned. But also we look at self-sufficiency. So we look at how can we use food as a tool to bring self-sufficiency to the individual. So at the very basic level, there's food. There's just getting food to people who need it right now. You go up a level, and it's at the level of the individual. How can we build some self-sufficiency so that that person can learn how to cook healthy food, how to grow healthy food? How can we use food as a tool to maybe teach a job skill? How can we build job training around culinary skills? You know, how can we look at building up the skill level of the individual so that they can feed themselves in a more productive way? And then we look at the system level. How can we work with other organizations? How can we collaborate with others to create a food system that actually feeds everybody, not just those of us who can afford to do it? So we're collaborating with other hunger relief organizations. We're collaborating with job training programs. We're collaborating with, there's a new kind of food policy council concept where food policy councils are looking at all the different moving parts of a food system, and how can those moving parts work together to create a food system that feeds everyone. So we kind of look at all those different levels.
Right, you're taking a multifaceted approach to ending hunger here in North Carolina. How can people find out more information about the Interfaith Food Shuttle?
Well, the best way is to go to our website. Foodshuttle.org is the best way to learn about our programs. And you'll see that we have programs that feed people from backpack buddies and school pantries and mobile markets. We have programs that teach culinary skills, shopping healthy on a budget, cooking healthy on a budget, even how to grow your own food. There's all kinds of programs that we try to hit all the different parts of the food system to help people.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. Cindy Singh, thank you so much for the work you're doing, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Up next, support programs for children who are hungry. We'll explain when Tar Heel Talk continues. Today's show focuses on an organization working to fight hunger in the Triangle area and beyond. And joining me now is Julie Cox, Child Hunger Programs Manager with the Interfaith Food Shuttle. Julie, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
We've talked about the overall services that the Interfaith Food Shuttle provides, and I know that one of your primary goals is to feed children who are hungry. Talk a little bit more about those programs for children.
So our first program really is, first and foremost, is Backpack Buddies. So that sends home bags of food over the weekends to children who have been identified by school social workers or counselors as not having enough or any food in their home to get them through the weekend. And it's enough food for 6 meals and 2 snacks. So it really gets them through the whole weekend, and so they're able to come back to school on Monday fed and ready to learn. You know, because imagine not eating for a weekend or not having enough to eat. It's
Absolutely.
hard to learn or get along with your friends or follow directions.
Or even, to even concentrate
Right.
at all. Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing we do, and that's mostly in elementary schools. We have a handful of programs that are in middle schools, but at that point we really try and transition over to school pantries. So we have Backpack Buddies in 80 schools in our 7-county service area, and it serves about 2,400 children. And then we have 25 school pantries. We'll open 27 or 28 within the next school year. And they're mostly in Wake, Durham, and Johnston counties. And we just opened one this year in Edgecombe County, actually. And that way kids can come in and choose their own food, and also families can come in and access food. If like you're just trying to get over, you know, if your SNAP funding's run out or you have medical bills or something and you need something extra, you can come in and pick up some extra food. And they have a variety of pantry styles depending on what the school is able to have in their. Some of them have refrigeration, some of them just have shelving for shelf-stable food, but we try to provide produce on some level. And of course we are able to if we have refrigeration, and then the refrigeration also allows us to have frozen meat too. So they have the families will have access to all kinds of food.
And this is available for students who have been identified through the social worker?
The pantries are generally open to anyone in the school. So if you're just hungry, or maybe the social workers don't know your situation yet, and you can come in and access the food. The families can come in, the parents. It's actually used by some employees at schools. So it's helped a lot of people on different levels. And we've even, like in Wake County, referred families from an elementary school to a high school that had a pantry, and the families just needed access to some extra food. So we try to all work it together.
I think it's important to note also that the Backpack Buddies and the assistance that you provide, it's done in a very discreet and respectful way.
We try really hard. We at Interfaith, we don't even know who the children are. They're just, you know, the school, we need 30 backpacks, and so we drop them off at the end of the week, and then different schools deliver them to the children different ways. Like some schools, like when I was a volunteer on the outside, delivered them on Thursday afternoons, and then the teachers would slip them in the backpacks to go home on Friday. Some schools, the kids will pick them up on their way out to the bus or stop by the social worker's office and get them. You know, it kind of depends on what works best for the school, but we definitely try to make it discreet and preserve the dignity of the children receiving the bags.
Absolutely, and that's extremely important. How can our viewers help support the Interfaith Food Shuttle and the efforts that you're doing in terms of feeding especially children in need?
There are lots of ways to support the Food Shuttle and Backpack Buddies and school pantries. One way, of course, is to give money, and that allows us to buy the appropriate food for the programs. We're pretty specific about what we need for backpacks, and if you go to our website, we actually do have the list of food that we ask for. And so when we hold a food drive, we'll ask for that specific food, but inevitably you get lots of food. And one of the things I think is really great about the food shuttles, we're really resourceful in terms of utilizing all the food that we get. If like soft top fruit cups don't work well in a backpack because they burst and make a mess and smell bad. And so we use canned fruit or the squeezy applesauce fruits. But we do get a lot of soft top fruit cups, and so we put those in our mobile markets or after school snack programs.
Talk a little bit about the mobile market and what that is and where you are throughout the community.
So we have 25 mobile markets. Some are open, some are closed. And so a closed one would be like at a location, and it's just for the attendees of that location, that church or that senior center or something like that. An open market is open to the community, like at Martin Street Baptist Church. On the second Saturday of every month, we have an open mobile market, and people can come, and we bring in pallets of food, shelf-stable food, lots of produce, frozen meat, and people can come in and shop and choose their own food, and it's free. And then at Martin Street and several other of the markets, we pack boxes or volunteers come and pack boxes that are delivered by members of the church and other volunteers. They pack about 160, 165 to go out to people who can't get to the market for health reasons or for whatever reason are homebound. So that's a great way for a family to stretch their food dollar. It's also a great way to volunteer. You can go with your family and spend a few hours, and it's a great experience to be able to do that. And Backpack Buddies is another way to volunteer. They're all pretty much all packed by volunteers. So people come in, groups come in Monday through Wednesday and pack the bags. We deliver about 2,400 bags a week, so that's a lot of bags to be packed. A lot of them are also packed by partners like Junior League of Raleigh or various churches and rotaries, so they pack and deliver them too. So there are lots of different methods of how we're getting things done. But we definitely need time and treasure and food donations. It's all helpful.
Right, lots of opportunities to get involved and help support the community.
Right.
And people can find out more information about those opportunities by going to your website, foodshuttle.org, or calling 919-250-0043. Julie Cox, thank you so much for the work you're doing, and thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Sonia.
All right. Don't go away. Tar Heel Talk will continue after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. North Carolina is ranked 10th in the U.S. when it comes to hunger. And we've been talking today about an organization working to change that. It's the Interfaith Food Shuttle. And joining me now is Katie Murray, Urban Agriculture Education Manager with the Interfaith Food Shuttle. Katie, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
I think that, we've been hearing a lot, we've been talking about all of the services that are provided through the Interfaith Food Shuttle. And I think a major component is you're not just feeding families or giving them food, but you're also teaching them how to grow their own food and to cook healthy food. Talk a little bit about those two aspects.
So we believe that it's really important to not just provide emergency food assistance to people who are experiencing food insecurity, but also to provide a holistic approach so that we're supporting the whole person and we are helping them build some of those self-sufficiency skills that can help pull them out of the situation that they're in. So we offer a number of different programs. We have our Growing School Gardens program, and we partner with local high-need public elementary schools, and we provide support so they can start school gardens and grow food for food insecure families at the school. We also offer after-school clubs and in-school education where we teach kids how to grow their own food during the school day in different subject areas. We also provide training for teachers so that they can also teach those same skills during the school day in areas like social studies, science, reading, math. We then also have Cooking Matters. So we run cooking classes for kids and families and adults, and we provide them with different produce items each week, and they learn how to make healthy recipes with food that they can get at an affordable price. And as part of that class, we also do a grocery store tour where they learn how to shop on a budget and get healthy food. It's really fun. We also do a really great program for adults called Seed to Supper, and that is a beginner's gardening class. It lasts for 5 weeks, and adults in the community who are experiencing food insecurity or want to support those who are experiencing food insecurity learn all the basics of gardening, and by the end they receive a number of the supplies that they need to start their own backyard garden.
And we see here some of the produce that is available through the Interfaith Food Shuttle, there are lots of opportunities, like you said, to focus on healthy eating. I think that's extremely important, that you're not just feeding families, but you're providing them, like we see here, with healthy options.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that makes us really unique. In our emergency food assistance programs, we do provide a lot of fresh produce. Around 35% of what we give out to the community is fresh produce. We also have a really amazing farm that grows a number of different fruits and vegetables that we give out through our programs like mobile markets or senior grocery bags.
Right. So we just saw a photo of the mobile market, and providing that information and that resource. We see here the kids enjoying the mobile market, and so that's something that's really important to, I think, for our viewers to know, that the Interfaith Food Shuttle provides these services, so they can go to your website and find out more information about the mobile market, about your produce, and about the gardens, and all the programs that you offer. And they can do that by going to foodshuttle.org or calling 919-250-0043. Again, the education programs that you provide, the education component is extremely important, because like you're saying, you can feed someone, but it can go much further and last a lifetime if you teach them how to grow food and feed themselves.
Yeah, and then they can teach other people, and you see that really beautiful ripple effect that happens in a community.
Absolutely. When you look at the programs that you have available, what are some of the needs that you are finding that maybe our community can help support?
Oh, gosh, there's so many. We need help. So we have 2 learning gardens that I didn't mention earlier, the Camden Street Learning Garden in Raleigh and the Gear Street Learning Garden in Durham. And those are really community spaces. We have teaching kitchens, we have an outdoor classroom, a compost system, where we really love to bring community members in and teach them on site. So we're always in need of educators who can both cook but also can garden, or one or the other, who are really excited about partnering with our community and really sharing their skill set with adults and children. We're also looking for folks to volunteer out on our farm. We have a lot of produce growing, and we need help harvesting it especially. So especially if you have a big group, whether that's at your church, your family, through a corporate group that you're working with, we really could use the help for sure.
Yeah. Every little bit of help matters.
Yes, absolutely. We also, in our cooking programs, are always looking for folks who really have culinary skills or nutrition background. So if you're a nutritionist and you feel like you might have some free time, it's a really great way to get involved and share your skill set with some folks who might be underserved.
Right. Lots of opportunities to get involved,
Yeah,
and people
definitely.
can go to your website and find out more information. They can go to foodshuttle.org and get information on all the volunteer opportunities and the programs and services that you provide, or they can call 919-250-0043. As you look at the programs that you have in place, for not just for children, but for adults and seniors as well, what type of impact is the Interfaith Food Shuttle making in the Triangle area and beyond?
So I think on a broad scale, we're obviously feeding thousands of people every year. We give out 6 million pounds of food every year. We reach so many people. But I think when you look at the educational programs, you really hear those beautiful stories that move you, of people learning how to grow a carrot for the first time, or picking a strawberry that they grew for the first time. And you see the spark in their eyes, and you see them feel their own power, discover their own power. And that's a really beautiful thing to witness. So it's not just the number of people we're reaching, it's also the quality of the impact that we're making, and the lives that we're changing, and in turn the lives that those people are changing as well.
Absolutely. That ripple effect you're talking about is extremely important.
It is.
Katie Murray, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and thank you
so
for
much.
being our guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send us an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.